All right. Sorry, guys, I had to get some things squared away, but I'm here. Can I get a round of applause? Thank you. You're far too kind. You're far too kind. All right, so we got some stuff to talk about tonight. We got some stuff to talk about. Right now, you see the title, you see the thumbnail. Tonight, we're breaking down this topic of, is Kamala Harris black? Is she black? Is she like us, in the words of 21st century philosopher Kendrick Lamar? Is she like us? That's the question on tonight's discussion. Now, in case you haven't heard, Donald Trump has gone viral for saying Kamala Harris just recently turned black. This was one of the comments that he made when he was speaking to the National Association of Black Journalists. He made a very controversial statement in saying, is she black? Or I didn't know that she was black, questioning her blackness. And the reason I say it's not only is it controversial, but he was brave for, first of all, going to that audience, knowing that it was going to be a hostile audience. And to a certain degree, he was reiterating something that grassroots foundational Black Americans have been saying. He's reiterating something that the grassroots foundational Black Americans have been saying. That he's reiterating the delineation movement that is taking place here in America. Now, whether or not it was his place to call this out, to me is irrelevant. The fact is he's listening to our messaging. He knows the topic of, if he knows that black people are questioning whether or not Kamala Harris is black, and he feels bold enough to go in front of a black audience and reiterate those comments, which we have been having this type of conversation, this type of debate online, for him to go and say that out loud in person to a black audience shows that he, to some level, is aware of the conversation of the delineation movement. And if he's already picking up on the delineation movement, then he's also aware of the call for tangibles. Reparations specifically, but tangibles for foundational Black Americans in any form is a requisite of the grassroots foundational Black American movement. So for him to say that, question her blackness in front of a black audience, I find that very interesting. I'm going to play, as always, I'm going to play some clips. First, I'm going to play you the clip that I'm referring to with Donald Trump questioning her blackness. Let's play that first to get some context. Y'all check this out.
Sir, do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket?
Volume is on. Bada bing, bada boom.
Sir, do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
but
identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that she is?
I think somebody should look into that too when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
Sir, do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So
now that's interesting. Even in real time, the black journalist defended Kamala Harris reflexively, and what she said was Kamala Harris has always identified as black. Now that's an interesting statement that she made in real time, reflexively defending Kamala Harris. Especially when, of course, the internet's going to internet. People have a record of what Kamala has said in the past. So when we look back in 2020, when she first attempted to run for president, we saw her put out this clip. We saw her put out this clip bragging on her Asian heritage. Y'all check this out.
Wait, so here's what I want to know.
Okay.
Is it respectful to call, like, I should be calling you Senator Harris, right?
No, you should not. That's not on my birth certificate.
Okay.
Call
Kamala?
Yes, please.
Okay, because the Indian in me, I feel like my parents,
Just
my
don't
dad
call
will
me-
watch this.
Just don't call me auntie.
Okay, I won't call you auntie. They'll be like, how could you call her by her first name? She's worked so hard. Okay, so what we're gonna cook today is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, you know Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like the thing we're so excited about to have you running for president.
Yeah.
So we're both Indian,
Yes.
but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes. You look like the entire one half of my family.
Okay, thank you.
You do.
I've been telling people
You
we're
do.
related already,
Yeah.
so this is perfect. It's basically true. And so were you raised eating South Indian food?
South Indian food, lots of rice and yogurt, potato curry, dal, lots of dal, idli.
Yes, Italy. That's a deep cut. Okay, so
You see how she was able to rattle off all the different items that she ate when growing up? Oh, she was eating dal and idli, and she was able to rattle off all the things that she experienced culturally coming from her Indian heritage, because that's what she lived. That was her lived reality. Whereas whenever she's questioned about her culture as far as her foundational Black American, and that's what we're going to have to discuss, the need for specific terms. Because by Black, what does Black mean? When she says she identifies as Black, does that mean she identifies as melanated? Because clearly she's melanated. I think that that's pretty obvious. But does she mean by Black, is she Black American? Because she's running for the United States president. We assume that she's running, if she's identifying as Black and she's running for president, which is in America, that means that she's identifying as a Black American. And that's where the discrepancy lies. That's where that term Black is doing a lot of heavy lifting. The question here is, what does Black mean? When she says she identifies as Black, I don't think she identifies as a foundational Black American. I think she identify as melanated? Sure. I think that she would consider herself Black, as in a melanated woman. Whereas, truth be told, a lot of Indians don't even consider themselves Black. Truth be told, a lot of Indians consider themselves brown, and we can get into that discussion. So when they have that whole Black and brown coalition, a lot of times they want us, especially the Indians, the Indians, some folks from East Africa, like Myron from Fresh and Fit from Sudan. A lot of folks, they don't, even though they're melanated, they don't like to identify as Black. They'll say, oh, I'm brown. I'm not Black, I'm brown. So when Donald Trump says, I didn't know that she was Black, recently, before, a couple years ago, she was identifying as Indian, she was identifying as Asian. Now all of a sudden she's Black. That is a fair criticism. Because in 2020, when she was actually running as president, she was making, going out pandering, saying, hey, I'm an Indian. I'm making dal. I'm making idli. When I was a kid, we were eating dal. We were eating idli. We were eating all these other Indian dishes. But fast forward to 2024, now all of a sudden she's talking about she has to scrub her collard greens in the bathtub because she's just making collard greens, and that's what she does. Right? So Donald Trump is he's reiterating an interesting point. And I think it's on us. As a Black community, foundationally Black American community, specifically Black Americans. It's on us to push certain terms. It's on us to push certain terms in order to be specific. And that's why I think the delineation movement has already been a success. I think that getting it into the public lexicon, the whole idea of foundational Black American, what by any other term, freedmen's, American descendants of slaves, the specific terms that we use to refer to ourselves as a specific lineage is very important. Because right now, terms like African American, we see Elon Musk saying he's the richest African American because he's from South Africa. He considers himself an African American. And technically, who could argue with him? He's got more of a connection to Africa than foundational Black Americans do, as far as historically, he's been there more recently than us as a group. So that term blackness, African American, is an outdated term. It's not. It's a bad term. It's a misnomer. It's a misnomer. It's not specific. Which is why, while we're doing this delineation movement, it's important that we use specific terms like foundational Black American, which only refers to our group as a lineage. So when people say, "Oh, is Kamala Harris Black?" What does Black mean? Is she a Black American, a foundational Black American? No, she's not. But that's what she's sort of implying when she says, "Oh, I've been always Black." No, you've always been melanated. A lot of Indians don't even consider themselves Black. They could consider themselves brown. So that term Black is not specific. It's not specific enough. Black, I think, should be swapped out with the term melanated. I think melanated is a much more appropriate term than Black is, because there's a lot of melanated people around the world, especially even here in America. There's a lot of melanated people from around the world. And they might not all consider themselves Black. There's some Mexicans that are darker than me, and they wouldn't consider themselves Black. They consider themselves brown. There's a lot of Indians. There's a lot of Sudanese. There's a lot of folks from different countries, folks from Iran, folks from the Middle East who are darker than me, who, if you ask them, "Oh, are you Black?" they're going to say, "No, I'm not Black." Because that term Black is doing too much heavy lifting. That term Black is, they're like, I know how the Black Americans have been treated, and I'm not a Black American, so no, I'm not Black. The question should be, a more appropriate term should be melanated. Melanated is more accurate, because the skin in your melanin doesn't necessarily mean you're Black or brown. We don't know what these terms mean. Who is brown? What country do you have to be from to be considered brown? What country do you have to be from to be considered Black? Because what? They're all different shades of blackness, all different shades of melanin. So what's the difference between the Black and brown? Who determines which group you are in? It's not clear to us. So I don't like some of these more confusing terms. Some of these confusing terms like, is Kamala Black? I'd say Kamala is melanated. But one thing I know she's not is a foundational Black American. And I want to play another clip, because a lot of people have been beating up on Donald Trump for that statement. And I want to play a clip. Hold on. Oh, I hope I did not. I want to play a clip because it seems to me as if folks are interested in harping on this, on some of some things that Donald Trump says actually land with the grassroots. Some things Donald Trump says, like, "Hey, I didn't know Kamala Harris is Black." They're making fun of him for saying that, but a lot of people hear that and say, he's right. He's right. They try to make fun of Donald Trump for saying, "Oh, we need to protect our borders because we need to ensure Black jobs. The illegal immigration is affecting Black jobs." And they're trying to make fun of him. "Oh, what's a Black job? There's no such thing as a Black job." No, there is definitely a such thing as a Black job. A Black job is any job a Black person is capable and willing to do. Let me say that again for those who missed it. A Black job is any job a Black person is capable and willing to do. That is a Black job. That is a Black job. So if there are jobs that Black people are capable of doing and willing to do, and that job is being taken or fulfilled by an illegal immigrant, by definition, that illegal immigrant is taking a Black job. So when people say, "Oh, there's no such thing as a Black job," you think you're being funny. You think you're shaming Donald Trump. But a lot of foundational Black Americans hear that and they say, "You know what? I'm with Trump on that. You know what? I don't think Kamala's Black. She might be in the brown category." Huh? I think that I do want my black jobs. I don't want my black jobs being taken. You think that you're making fun of Trump for saying that there's no such thing as a black job? Well, I want a black job. So a lot of the things that these pundits are trying to use as a gotcha against Donald Trump is really backfiring. Here's the clip that I was referring to when I said they're trying to make fun of him. Y'all check this out.
For the purposes of...
I want to cut that back. Hold on.
Bakari, I'm half Colombian, but for the purposes of this panel, I guess I will be black. How do you think Vice President Harris handled her response to Trump?
No, I think that this is an amazing moment in American TV history because we can all tell the audience at that time we turned black. For me, it was about 99, 2000 when I first heard Juvenile's Back That Ass Up and I had a rhythmic cadence to my dance. At that moment, I knew I was black.
Bakari, I'm half Colombian, but for the purposes of this panel...
See, they're laughing. We get to tell people that we're black. But dude, you said you're Colombian. So again, you're black now. Next thing you know, you're going to be saying, oh, I'm not black, I'm brown. Because if you consider yourself black, then what is a brown person? Again, if there's supposed to be a black and brown coalition and now all of a sudden everybody is black, then who are the brown folks? who are the brown folks? Oh, you're black when it's convenient, but then when it's not convenient, you can go, oh, I'm not black, I'm not really black, I'm brown. See, that's that double dutch, that playing the fence, playing both sides that I don't like. Which is why, again, this is the importance. I'm trying to highlight the importance of using specific language, specific words like foundational Black American, specific words like melanated instead of black, because it's hard to argue whether someone is melanated or not. Anyone with eyes can tell if someone's melanated, but whether or not someone is black, that's up to determination. That's very subjective. I've seen a lot of dark-skinned people say that they're not black, and that's a fact. I've seen a lot of dark-skinned people. I'm talking about black, like the backside of this hoodie black. Talking about, oh, I'm not black. I'm Asian. Like, okay, dude, where you from again? Pakistan? Oh, okay, got you. I heard you. Say less. But let me tell you, this is a very important issue. And this is why on this channel, I'm pushing things like the delineation movement. I'm pushing the importance of using specific words. Now, I want to play another clip to show you, like I said before, and first, before I get into it, I want to give a quick salute to the boy. It says Quan Emerson. Elon Musk is a colonizer that grew up in Alkebulan. In case anyone doesn't know, Alkebulan is the original name of Africa. So yeah, Quan, I'm with you, bro. I would agree. But look, I want to play y'all this clip. I want y'all to check this out because this is to show that the delineation movement is gaining momentum. This is not just something that's taking place online. A bunch of folks, YouTubers like myself, just talking online. No, this is something that is taking root and getting a stronghold in academia, in politics, like we see Donald Trump questioning Kamala Harris's lineage and blackness. We see this clip coming from academia. This is coming from the Center for Immigration Studies. I want y'all to check this out. Y'all check this out.
To really get away from racial distinctions and idea of race, because that was something that this whole idea of scientific racism had been so harmful to African Americans, and as it turns out, the scientific community eventually got out of that.
Well, I mean, my ancestors didn't slave and sweat and toil and all that hard work that they did for Joanne Reed to have a job. She's from the Congo. They worked for Black Americans to have jobs. They did all that for Black Americans, not people from the Congo who are first generation Americans.
Hold on. Shots fired. Hold on. Wait a minute. Shots fired. Did she call out Joanne Reed by name? By name? No, she didn't. No, she didn't. Is this an academic setting? She's saying this in person in front of white folks. Salute to the sister standing on business with this one. The sister stood on business with this one, saying, hey, my folks bled, sweat, and tears were put forth in sacrifice for Black Americans. For Black Americans, not all these other groups. Hold on. Let the sister cook. Check this out.
To African Americans, and as it turns out, the scientific community eventually got out of that.
Well, I mean, my ancestors didn't slave and sweat and toil and all that hard work that they did for Joanne Reed to have a job. She's from the Congo. They worked for Black Americans to have jobs. They did all that for Black Americans, not people from the Congo who are first generation Americans. Not even Kamala Harris, who's Indian American and Jamaican.
Right.
My ancestors didn't work for Kamala Harris to have these benefits. They worked for Black Americans to have benefits. I think even Obama is not even a Black American. This is why using color, the skin color, is not sufficient. It's confusing.
Right.
And this is why I say,
What? Did she call out Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, Joanne Reed? The sister is cooking right now. She said, what? What? This is an academic setting, so this is on record, though, coming from the Center for Immigration Studies. This is saying, listen, Black folks historically, foundational Black Americans did not sweat and bleed and toil and sacrifice for these first generations. Listen, we're welcoming people. We fought for the 1965 immigration legislation. We fought to give other people an opportunity. But we fought for ourselves to reap the benefit of years, decades, and centuries of sacrifice first and foremost. So when we see these newcomers coming and gaining benefit to the exclusion of our group, because make no mistake about it, if Kamala Harris or Barack Obama or Joanne Reed were getting into politics talking about, hey, we need reparations, Kamala Harris is on record as saying, I'm not doing anything for Black people. No, I'm not doing anything only for Black people. No. See, the reason that Kamala Harris and Barack Obama and that ilk get so much pushback and we have to delineate from them is because they're not doing anything for us for a group. As a group, they expect us to support them because we as foundational Black Americans have been so on code and so unified, pushing that Black line. Hey, we're all Black. Come on to America. We're all Black. We don't discriminate you when we see you in the streets. We don't discriminate against you when we go into your 7-Elevens. We don't discriminate. We see all of us as Black, one big Black family. But when we come here, you expect our support. But then you turn around and tell us you're not going to do anything for Black people. No. This is why the sister rightfully is calling out. No. Our people aren't going to continue to sacrifice and sweat and toil so that you tokens from elsewhere can come here and tell us that we don't deserve anything. We don't deserve reparations, but you want us to fight for open border policies? No, that's over and done with. That's done. And I'm sorry to cut the sister off because she was cooking. But hold on, let me give 3 cheers for sis. Because yes, absolutely. Let her finish here.
white Americans and Black Americans have been in America the longest since its founding. And that is significant. That matters. That history matters. And so this is why, and I don't know why so many, and, I want to get into this issue about Black women, Black American women supporting. I know it's nonprofit, but Black American women don't understand most of them, some do, but most of them don't understand. They think everything is about skin color. And that's a superficial analysis of the situation. They're not looking at the history. They don't know the history. And they're just so wedded to the political left position, embracing all of their policies. And their policies have been detrimental to Black America. They need to get away from that embrace of all these policies that are the detriment. So what I'm thinking, they're not doing their homework. They're not reading this cast your bucket where you are. Cast down your bucket where they're not reading this history. They're being superficial. They're just watching the television and going along with what the politicians say. That is not sufficient.
Now that's deep. Shout out to that sister. She cooked. She cooked on that one. Just pointing out to the fact that, hey, we need to focus on the policies instead of voting for someone just because they're black, quote unquote black. I prefer the term melanated. Yes, Kamala Harris is melanated, but I don't think she's black. I don't think she identifies as black until the very recent past. So I think Donald Trump has a point. And that's why I don't understand. Donald Trump says a lot of things that I disagree with. The majority of them are policy based. For example, if I'm going to disagree with something Donald Trump says, I'm going to think about what he said concerning Israel-Gaza. He says that Joe Biden is like a Palestinian and he's a bad Palestinian because he's weak. He says if he was in office, he would unshackle the chains of Israel and allow them to go after Gaza and Iran even harder. That's something that is a legitimate concern that you should be holding against Donald Trump. That's something that he has actually said policy based that concerns me. That is an attack you should be using against Donald Trump. Him saying that illegal immigrants are taking black jobs, you think that's cooking. You think that that's going to embarrass him and turn the black community against him. But I'm here to tell you, it's a lot of black folks that agree with him. It's a lot of black folks that say the policies that are undermining foundational black Americans are coming from the Democrats. So when you think that him pointing out the fact that your policies are undermining us, taking our jobs, that's not so far-fetched. That's not so ridiculous. You should, if the advice to the Democrats, if you want to demonize Trump, stick to the policies that he's espousing. Stick to his foreign policy concerning the escalation of war with Iran. But see, they can't do that because they want to do the same thing. They want to do the same thing. If you were going to attack Trump, I would say Donald Trump has called for the complete immunity from all officers, regardless of their conduct while on duty. So effectively, at least from a federal level, police officers could commit crimes like we saw with Sean Gracie and Sonia Massey. And we could see them not ever get any federal charges because Donald Trump wants to give broad scale immunity to the police officers. But see, the Democrats won't critique Trump on that because they want to do the same thing. Yeah, they might not institute policy, but de facto is they are de facto meaning in practice. De facto and de jure. De jure is legally speaking, meaning according to the written law. But de facto, meaning in practice, they are not charging anyone for their crimes. The federal government is very hesitant to prosecute these hate crimes that are being conducted against foundational black Americans. So effectively, the policies that you should be holding against Trump, the Democrats don't even want to mention because in order to attack Trump on those policies, they would really be having to hold themselves to account. So instead of attacking Trump on his policies as far as escalations with war in Iran, instead of attacking Trump on his promise to grant broad immunity to murderous race soldiers that they like to call police officers, those are the policies. If you want to talk to the black community, if you want to pander to the black community, that's what you should be pointing out. Not, oh, Donald Trump said that illegal immigration is affecting black jobs. So? Not, oh, Donald Trump said Kamala Harris identified as Asian and not black. So? Y'all are the Democrats are fighting a losing battle. And I want to explain to you, I'm going to go into an article to show you just why this is so important. But first, I got to give a quick shout out to San Moores and Quan Emerson. Y'all know I like to read all my comments. San Moore says, hello all, peace. Quan Emerson says, I believe with everything in my being that our entire diaspora needs to unite and stand together. I'm Jamaican, but half my family is from America. I don't like how nationality is used for ethnicity. Listen, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. If you want to talk about unity, the need for unity within melanated folks, especially here in America, I'm with you. Now, here's the thing about it. I feel, in my opinion, foundational Black Americans has been the most united group of the diaspora. We uplifted folks like Marcus Garvey. We didn't say, oh, Marcus Garvey is immigrant, so we're not rocking with Marcus Garvey. No, we said Marcus Garvey has a pro-Black agenda. We're with him. We the same thing about, you can talk about Louis Farrakhan. Louis Farrakhan right now, he's from where? What the islands, right? Tobago? Barbados? Is he from Tobago or Barbados? Louis Farrakhan is from the islands. You think the foundational Black Americans, the Nation of Islam, isn't rocking with Louis Farrakhan? We are. But see, the issue is we're rocking with melanated folks all around the diaspora, all around the world, as long as they're on code with pushing a Black agenda. If you are a foundational Black American and you're pushing reparations, and an immigrant from Jamaica like Quan Emerson comes along and says, yo, I'm not a foundational Black American, but I hope you get reparations because you deserve it. And we're pushing for reparations from Great Britain and CARICOM. So I'm hoping that we get reparations in Jamaica, and I hope y'all get reparations in America. You think there's going to be a lack of unity there? Nah, if you come with a pro-Black agenda, if you say you support our claim for reparations, hey, we're unified, bro. Me as a foundational Black American, I'm going to support you as a Jamaican. I'm going to support CARICOM and their fight for reparations, just like y'all should be supporting us when we have our fight for reparations here. See, the disunity, the lack of unity comes when folks just want us to support them just because they're melanated, but they don't want to support us as a group. That's the one-sided unity that, no, we're just not going for that anymore. And that's where comes the entire delineation movement. So shout out to Quan, shout out to Sam Morris. Appreciate y'all comments. Man, y'all know I read all my comments. If y'all have made it this far in the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Support the channel, man. Support the channel. You know, I'm just here rocking in my free time. Support the channel, hit the thumbs up button because it's free. It's free, right? If it's your first time watching, be sure to smash the subscribe button for content just like this. We talk about a wide range of topics from news, politics, current events, hip hop, sports. I'm going to be making a video tomorrow on Olympics. We've got I don't want to say transvestite because she was born, I think, hermaphrodite. We're going to talk about the Olympics, the boxing match in the Olympics. We're talking about Simone Biles tomorrow, so that's going to be an interesting conversation. But let's finish up this topic here, because there's something that I wanted to point out as far as why this is important, especially right now. Especially right now. So this is an article coming from News Nation. Let me make sure y'all can see this. See, Donald Trump has been saying that, you know, the reason the Democrats are pushing open border policies is because they are trying to dilute the Black vote. They're trying to dilute not just the Black vote, they're trying to dilute citizens' votes. They're essentially, by keeping open border policies, are hoping that the folks that come into the country illegally, thanks to these democratic policies, will choose to vote and support their party. That's what Donald Trump and the Republicans are arguing. And if you do your research, it's true. It's true. Y'all know I'm a local DC. I'm a DC YouTuber, right? I'm here living in DC. And recently they've passed legislation here in DC to allow non-citizens to vote. So we're going to break out this article and kind of break down why this is so important. So non-citizens are voting in Washington, DC. Is that legal? DC passed a law in 2022 allowing non-citizens to vote in local elections. Non-citizens are still barred from the voting in federal elections. Republican lawmakers are pushing back against the law. Okay? So federally, as far as in the presidential race, no, they can't vote. But in local elections, here in DC, they can vote for mayor, they can vote for city council, they can vote for board of elections. Let's get into this article because it's important. It's important. It's not all about presidents It's about your local politics. And this is diluting our vote. Right now, there's a strong push for reparations. DC just passed legislation in order to move us in that direction, in order to move us in the direction of getting reparations. But one of the groups that, because they don't qualify, they've done polling, and one of the groups that does not support reparations is the illegal immigrants, which is crazy. It's like the Democrats are asking us to support them while they support illegal immigration. And then the illegal immigrants come into the country, get the right to vote, and then tell us, no, we don't deserve the reparations. So it's really like we're shooting ourselves in the foot when we push for these type of policies. But let me break down this article, and then I'll share some more thoughts. Non-citizen immigrants were able to cast their votes in Washington, D.C. Tuesday under a new law that expands voting rights to non-citizen residents in local elections. To be clear, just to give you all some clarity, this is written June 4th, 2024. So this is fairly recent. This is fairly recent. All right. Non-citizen immigrants were able to cast their votes in Washington, D.C. Tuesday under a new law that expands voting rights to non-citizen residents in local elections. As the law went into effect this week, it also garnered significant pushback and criticism, largely from the Republican votings in D.C. It's unlikely the bill will advance forward in the Democratic-controlled Senate, which means that the status quo of non-citizen residents having the ability to vote, that will likely stand. That will likely stand because the Democratic Senate is not going to overturn the status quo. Okay? Okay? So when the Republicans, when you see that there's a large demographic shift, when you see that black men are starting to abandon the Democratic Party and the Republicans are gaining, some polls are showing up to 20% of the black vote, and the Democrats are scratching their head, why is this happening? Well, it's because what policies are y'all offering specifically to foundational black Americans? Because we see that your policies are undermining us. I'm going to read the comments, but let me read a little bit more of this article and then I'm going to get to your comments. I find it inconceivable that the Washington City Council would intentionally, now this is a Republican speaker here, and I'm going to highlight it because it's important. I find it inconceivable that the Washington City Council would intentionally dilute the voting power of their constituents, says a Republican from Texas, Representative August Fugger. The bill's sponsor reported to the Washington Post. Republicans are like, why, when the Democrats are saying, hey, democracy is on the vote, is on the ballot. You've got to vote. Democracy is on the ballot. You've got to vote. The Democrats, in my opinion, are a clear and present danger, a clear and present threat to democracy itself. We see that within their own party, they have a reckless and open disregard. They have a shameless disregard for democracy. We see that within the own party, they have cheated on multiple occasions and then argued in federal court that they had the right to cheat Bernie Sanders specifically in 2016. They argued in federal court and won that they, as far as they're concerned, they can sit back in a smoky room and select whatever candidate they want to represent their party. So they've already argued and won in federal court that we don't need democracy within the Democratic Party. Forget Bernie Sanders in 2016. Forget Bernie Sanders in 2020. Forget RFK in 2024. And matter of fact, forget Joe Biden if we see that we don't want him anymore. We'll just remove him, and without any voter input from the Democratic voters, we're going to swap him out for Kamala Harris. We don't need your input. Oh, you're a Democrat? We don't need your input. You just show up in November. As far as your primaries go, don't worry about it. We'll select whoever we choose. Your vote is irrelevant. But democracy is on the ballot. but democracy is on the ballot. Whereas the Republicans are seeming more and more rational. The Republicans at least have the heart to say, okay, how is it beneficial to your constituents? How is it beneficial to your own citizens of this country and of your state, even though DC is not a state, of your locality, how is it beneficial to your constituents to grant voting rights or the privilege to vote to people who aren't even citizens? On this channel, y'all know that I do a lot of moving. I've lived in a lot of different countries. I've lived in China for years. I've been to Russia, been to Canada, been to South Africa. You know one thing I never thought to do? I never thought to move to China and try to get a vote in China. It just never occurred to me to even think to try to do that. I didn't go to Canada and say, you know what? I'm going to be here for 6 months. Let me go ahead and try to vote. I don't know anything about their politics in Canada. I don't know anything about the politics in China. I don't know anything about the politics in South Africa. For me to go there as a non-citizen and decide I deserve the right to vote. And matter of fact, oh, you're oppressed over in South Africa? Well, I'm going to move to South Africa. Tell the South Africans living there, you don't deserve you don't, whatever grassroots movements y'all got in South Africa, you don't deserve what you're asking for from your government. You don't deserve it. I'm going to vote against your interests. The thought would not cross my mind. Do you understand that in America, we are so accepting. We've got people who will come here and try to dictate to people who have been here for generations, for not only generations, for centuries, and dictate to them. I've been here. I'm a first generation, but I'm going to tell you people who have been here for centuries what you do and don't deserve. It's asinine, but that's what we see going rampant. And I'm going to get back into this article, but first, as always, we got to read some comments. Alexa Hawkins, shout out and salute, says your point is well taken that we need to be much clearer in the use of nationality, ethnicity, race, etc., especially as it has serious impacts on how policies are rolled out, funds are appropriated. Yeah, we definitely got to be more specific. And I think that's why it's important that we normalize, we really got to normalize using terms like foundational Black American. That's why on this channel I say it all the time, foundational Black American, American descendants of slaves, because that's a lineage-based movement. It's not, but it's specific. Whether you can be a foundational Black American and not believe in reparations. You can be a foundational Black American and not believe, and believe. You can be a foundational Black American voting for Trump. You can be a foundational Black American voting for Kamala Harris. Foundational Black American has nothing to do with your political ideology. It's just, this is your lineage. You have been here, and it's very specific. And it doesn't apply to everyone. It's very specific. Whereas terms like Black, African American, they're so bastardized at this point. We've got white people like Elon Musk saying that they're African American. We've got Kamala Harris. She was proud to be an Indian, proud to be an Asian. Now she's saying she's Black. Then who are the brown people? If all these people are all of a sudden Black, who are the brown people? So yes, Alexa Hawkins, I think it's important to be specific. The sister was exactly right, and you're right that Black, brown are both melanated but different. Yeah, but saying Trump had a fair criticism when speaking with the Black journalist is wrong. I said he was a little out of place saying that. He did say that to a Black audience. That was a bit bold. That was a bit presumptuous of him. That was a bit bold and presumptuous of him. But the point that he was making is a fair point. It's a fair point. I don't like the messenger on this one. I don't like him saying it, but in my opinion, it's a fair point that he's trying to make. He was comparing Kamala's embracing her Indian heritage with being Black, which is not mutually exclusive. But a lot of Indians don't identify as Black. They'll say they're brown. So him saying, I didn't know she was Black, that's not far-fetched. That's a fair critique. There's room to believe that if it was not politically expedient, she would not be classifying herself as Black. She'd be embracing her Asian heritage. She might be saying, oh, I'm not Black, I'm brown. It depends on the room she's in, I'm telling you. He has no understanding of that nuance. Fair. I don't know if he probably doesn't. He likely does not have an understanding of the nuance. Whether he understands the reason he was right, If you go to a 2-year-old and say, what's 2 plus 2? And the only number he's learned at that age is 4, he might not understand addition, but 2 plus 2 is 4 regardless. So whether or not he understands the nuance, he came to the right answer. And yeah, I'm still shaking my head over non-citizens voting. That's crazy. So salute, appreciate your comments, Alexa Hawkins. Going back to San Moores. Right now, I'm registered in my new county. I'm confused of who I need to vote for. Right now, I'm not registered in my new county. I'm confused. Okay, said it twice. I'm confused on who I need to vote for. Well, right now, I don't know what county you're living in. I don't know if you're living in a blue state, a red state, or a purple state. See, me, I live in DC. DC is a blue district. So I'm pretty confident that DC is going to be going for Kamala Harris. So I've got a little bit of leeway. I push third party voting. As a blue state, I have the leeway to say, okay, I'm going to take my votes, I'm going to take my talents and push the need for third party. We need alternatives. I don't think that either the Republican or the Democratic Party, especially not the Democratic Party, but neither the Republican nor the Democratic Party have sufficient policies representing my interests. My interest being getting us out, reducing the risk for World War III. Neither party. I don't give Trump as credit because he's going to escalate the war in Iran. And I don't give Democrats party because right now they're allowing Israel to escalate the war, the Palestinian attack on Palestine, as well as funding Ukraine war, which is ridiculous in and of itself. So, like I said, I'm going to be voting third party, but I live in a blue state. If you live in a red state or a blue state or a purple state, if you live in a purple state, your vote really matters. So that's some calculations you'll have to take upon yourself. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. I can't really give you advice. I don't know where you are. I don't have the information on you to say what's in your interest. But the fact that you're here and you're interested in this type of conversation shows at least you're getting active. At least you're doing some research. So we're glad to have you, Sam Moores. I hope to see you again. Shout out Mitch Sledge. I will vote for neither. Quan said, I honestly wasn't going to vote and continue to vote locally, but seeing a division dummy running, I can't sit back and not vote. All right, man, do what you got to do. So the DC Board of Elections, I'm going to read a little bit more of this article because it's wild. And I've made some comments talking about the fact that non-citizen residents are able to vote in DC. But when I said it, I felt as though I need to just confirm, not only confirm for myself, but show and prove that this is not just something that is happening and the Republicans are just fear-mongering on this. No, this is legitimate concern of foundational black voters, and really all American citizens should be concerned about this realistic issue because the Democrats are benefiting by diluting our votes. The Democrats are benefiting by laundering, specifically when I talk about the Democrats right now, I'm talking about Joe Biden, because I believe that there was a significant amount of corruption with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden making deals to launder our money through Ukraine back when Joe Biden was vice president. So I think there's a significant level of corruption there, and the Democrats are a vessel being used to siphon money from the U.S. taxpayers and send it to Ukraine, send it to Israel, send it to these illegal immigrants. The Democrats are helping everyone but American citizens, and then they're shaming us for not supporting them. So you can guess what side I'm on. All right, so the D.C. Board of Elections said it has been inundated with, and look, people are pushing back. It's not just me. It's not just me on here. It's a lot of people in the grassroots, a lot of people, shouting, doing what they can do to push the line. Let the electorate know. The D.C. Board of Elections said it is inundated with abusive and angry calls from people opposed to non-citizen voting. People are calling, hey, y'all are giving the votes to non-citizens. What are y'all doing? Monica Evans, the office's executive director. People are calling, sending emails. People are upset about this. And the Democrats don't seem responsive. They just take their base for granted. That's what they're doing. They're undermining our interests, diluting our vote, and then expecting us to support them because, if you don't vote for us, Project 2025 is around the corner. You don't want Donald Trump to be reelected, do you? I know you read Project 2025. Well, go to Trump's website. He's pushing Agenda 47. I don't know if he's even interested in Project 2025. But the fear mongering, they're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you that. All right. So is the new law legal? DC legally passed the Local Residents Voting Rights Amendment. If you want to go back and do your research on that, you're welcome to do so. DC legally passed the Local Resident Voting Rights Amendment Act in 2022, but the law went into effect for the first time this week. This week, the time when this was written was June 2024. The law removes, let me highlight this, the law removes the citizenship requirement for voting in municipal elections, allowing non-citizen residents to vote in local elections. Right now, we've got legislation on the ballot trying to pass reparations in D.C. You're giving a lot of people who would not qualify. Mind you, D.C. used to be Chocolate City. D.C. used to be Chocolate City. It used to be our city, an all-black city. But you're starting to dilute it. We see gentrification in D.C. We see D.C. now as a mixing pot. Let me tell you something. I don't know if y'all, I don't know who here watching it is from DC, but if you're from DC, if you're from the DMV, then you know what I'm saying is true. You know what I'm saying is true. They got embassies. We got folks from every corner of the world in DC. DC is turning into a mini New York. We got everybody here. Y'all know what I'm saying is true. Federal law prohibits non-citizens from voting in federal elections, but it does not stop non-citizens from voting in state or local elections. Under DC law, non-citizens can vote for local officials, local initiatives, referendums, recalls, or charter amendment measures. From a local standpoint, that's all we've got. We don't have, DC is not a state, so we don't have a governor, we don't have senators, we don't have House representatives. All we have is local officials. That's all we have is a mayor. Local initiatives, referendums, recalls, and charter amendments. That's all we have. So essentially, what's the difference between a non-citizen and a citizen at this point, according to the DC Democrats? And mind you, you got to tether this policy to the Democrats because the Republicans are the only ones pushing back against this. And then you wonder why. A significant portion of black folks, foundational black Americans, are abandoning the Democratic Party. See, there's a lot of black folks that are still on that Democratic plantation. That's all they know. They're still voting the lesser of two evils. But it's a lot of people hearing us having conversations like this. There's a lot of people that's like, hey, my nephew was talking this stuff and he might have a point. A lot of people are like, hey, the young boys, the new generation, there's some black folks out here that's not going with the Democrats. They're pushing third party and they're making some solid points. They're making some good points. When messages start to spread, and mind you, in the black community, we get on cold with each other real quick. So it doesn't take much for, mind you, before Lyndon Johnson, the majority of black folks were Republicans, right? It wasn't until the civil rights legislation of the 60s when we had the Southern strategy and we had the flip where a lot of black folks went to the Democrats and a lot of the racist, what they call Dixiecrats, went to the Republicans. That was just because of the civil rights legislation of the 1960s. Right now, we're pushing for reparations. Let me tell you, Donald Trump, if elected, because he's not in office right now, but if Donald Trump was to get elected, he would be a lame duck president. He's already been elected. He's already been president for 4 years. So he would be a lame duck president. He would only have 4 years and he would be out. If he was to choose with his lame duck presidency to solidify his legacy by granting some tangibles in the form of, you don't have to call it reparations because that might be off-putting to his base. If they call it an economic stimulus package, specifically for foundational Black Americans, if they made some significant reforms as far as protections from police brutality, protections from hate crimes, a hate crime bill specific for foundational Black Americans, the bar is low and the apple is ripe for picking. The Republicans under Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they really got an opportunity here. They really have an opportunity to steal for the foreseeable future a significant portion of Black voters, Black Democrats, especially Black men. Especially the Black men. The Republicans have a chance here if they play their cards right. Let's keep going, and then I'll read some more comments. Let me read a little bit more here. The law also allows non-citizen residents to run for DC government roles and serve on the city's board of elections. So you can be an illegal immigrant. You could be a non-citizen. If you're a non-citizen, that doesn't necessarily mean you are an illegal immigrant. But if you are a non-citizen, you could be an illegal immigrant. It means you are not a resident. You are a resident, but you are not a citizen. You're not a citizen. So can you imagine somebody just came here got a temporary residency permit? You don't even need a temporary residency permit. You're just living here in DC. You're just living here. You got a utility bill. You got a utility bill from renting an apartment in DC. You just moved here January of 2024. You can vote for mayor. You can run for office for city council. You can make legislation. You can make laws for residents. You can make laws for citizens, and you yourself is not a citizen. According to this law, which passed in 2022 in Washington, D.C., the law allows non-citizen residents to run for DC government roles. So you just got here in January and you have the right to run for office where you are able to write legislation and dictate laws to citizens who have been here since birth, whose family members have been here for generations, for centuries. And you want to shame people for not supporting this foolishness. Trump's case casts a spotlight on movements to restore voting rights to those. Okay, that's just a commercial. However, they are given a different ballot from U.S. citizens, which only includes local races, reported The Guardian. Non-citizens are eligible to vote if they are at least 18 years old as of election day, have been in D.C. for at least 30 days. So it's not a 3-month requirement. It's not a 6-month requirement. It's not a 5-year requirement. 30 days. I said you have to be here in January. You could have been here in June. You moved here in June. You're not even a resident. You moved here in June, and now you have the right to run for city council. To not only vote, you have the right to run. And you've been here for less than 60 days. You haven't been here 3 months. You don't know anything about the history of Washington, D.C. You don't know anything about the current political environment of Washington, D.C. You've been here for 3 months and you got the right to vote. And like I said, if I hadn't moved around as much as I have in my life, I probably wouldn't care so much about this topic. But because I've moved around so much, do you know I've spent months, I could tell you how many countries I've spent months in. Like, I've moved around a lot. And the thought never crossed my mind to get involved in someone else's politics in a foreign country. I don't think that another country would allow me. I don't think that if I went to South Africa, I lived in South Africa, I lived in Mozambique, I don't think I could, and I'm more educated than a lot of people in Mozambique. Mozambique is one of the poorest countries in all of Africa. If I moved to Mozambique with an American passport and American degrees, Do you think that they're going to allow me to get active, start voting in Mozambique, Maputo, Mozambique? You think they're going to allow, Maputo is the capital of Mozambique. You think they're going to allow me to run for city council in Maputo when I've just been there for 30 days? No, there's no country where you can do that. I've lived in China. They're not going to let me run for office in China because I've been there for 30 days. Neither will they in South Africa, neither will they in Canada, nor Russia, nor South Korea. I can't think of a place I could go where they're going to let me start voting because I've been there for 30 days. But here in DC, shame on you if you don't support that type of legislation. Shame on you if you don't support the party who's pushing open borders and giving voting rights to illegal immigrants. Huh? Shots fired to the Democrats. I don't know what they're on. All right, before we finish this article, because we've been rocking for a bit tonight, before we finish this article, let me read some more of these comments. Mitch Sledge, salute Mitch Sledge. You know Mitch Sledge has been supporting this channel for a while now. I appreciate you, brother. Mitch Sledge, he says, I will vote for you. You're level-headed and would have interesting ideas. Man, I appreciate. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I don't think I'll ever be running for anything. That's not my forte. I'm a dissident, but I appreciate the vote of confidence. Sam Moore, sorry my phone or Wi-Fi is not working so well. Oh, you're good, bro. You're good. Glad to have you here. I thought about filling my own name. Hey, I support that decision. I'd support that decision. I broke down voter protesting, the different forms of voter protesting. That was in a different live. But I support third-party voting, whether it be writing your own name. I think it's better than not voting, because if you vote but you choose not to vote for either one of the two major party systems, which that's what I do. I do not vote for either of the two major party systems. I think you're going on record. You're filing your petition with the government that you would be willing to show up. You would be willing to vote. You would be willing to support a candidate. Just not the two candidates that they're pushing, they're selecting and throwing in your face as if it's a legitimate cause. It's not. But instead of not voting, which just seems like a lazy form of protest, it's still a protest. Not voting is still a form of protest, and I do respect not voting just as much as I suspect or protect or uplift voting. I do respect not voting, but I think it's a lazy form of protest. I think voting third party is a little bit more active, a little bit more direct. So if you, Sam Moore, is thinking about writing your own name in, hey, bro, I support you on that decision. I support you, and I don't think that's irrational. I don't think not voting for the Democrats is irrational. I don't think not voting for Trump is irrational. I think it's very irrational. I think it is very rational. It makes sense not to want to vote for the Democrats. It makes sense not to want to vote for Donald Trump. And you shouldn't be shamed into only having these two options. If you want to push a third party, if you want to vote for yourself, hey, I don't shame you for that. Shout out Alexa Hawkins. Says, you don't think Trump knows anything about Project 2025 just because he didn't have it on his website? When J.D. Vance wrote the foreword for the book by the chief architect, yes, vote, active protest. Yeah, I support voting. Do I think that Trump knows anything about Project 2025? I'm sure he knows something about it, but I don't think that necessarily means he supports it. He on record does not support a lot of the things from Project 2025. You could see in his first debate where where Joe Biden embarrassed himself, one of the things that he was saying was Project 2025 wants to ban contraceptives. Trump's like, well, I'd never approved of that. I don't support that. They said that concerning Project 2025, they said that he wants to not only ban contraceptives but ban abortion nationwide. Donald Trump's like, no, I don't support that either. He believes in the three exceptions. This is just one example, but does he know about Project 2025? I'm sure he's read it, but I don't think that he necessarily supports it. Back to Mitch. Project 2025 is a Republican wish list. The question is, exactly, Mitch, you got it. Yeah, I think that Republicans as a whole here's a list of things that they might support, that they might want, but I don't think Trump necessarily supports all of that. No, I don't. All right, so non-citizens are eligible to vote if they are at least 18 years old as of election day, have been in D.C. resident for at least 30 days before the election. So let's say you're a student. You're 18 years old. You're an international student. You come to America, you're a college freshman. You haven't been here. This is your first semester. This is your first semester in the country. And now you get the right to vote. Like, what do you think that these folks know about American politics, about American landscapes, our political system, our needs here after living here for 30 days? This is what the Democrats are defending. Before the election, have not been deemed by a court legally incompetent to vote, and are not claiming the right to vote in any state, territory, or country, meaning you're only voting in D.C. The law's legality could be contested in court, but until it happens, it will continue to stand. All right, it will continue to stand. Now, there's more to this article. Can they vote for presidential election? No, they cannot. I want to finish here because it's not just happening in D.C. I know here in D.C. we talk about D.C. politics, or on this channel I talk about D.C. politics a lot. But I want to highlight this. It's not just happening in D.C. Apart from the D.C., the District of Columbia, 3 states have municipalities that allow non-citizens to vote in local elections, according to Bipartisan Policy Center. Some cities in Maryland, so that's the DMV, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, D.C. and Maryland, and Vermont permit non-citizens to vote in municipal elections, according to the group. New York City enacted a law allowing non-citizens to vote in local elections in 2021, but it was ruled unconstitutional by a state judge in 2022. Salute the state judge who said, what? No, that's not constitutional. No. Which means they're trying to do the same thing in San Francisco, in New York City, They tried to do the same thing in New York in 2021. San Francisco allows non-citizens residents who are parents and guardians to vote in school board elections with Oakland, attempting to enact similar legislation according to the group. No state currently allows non-citizens to vote nationwide. So they're working on it. Make no mistake about it. No state currently allows non-citizens to vote, but they're working on it. You let the Democrats have their way, California is going to be next on the list. DC's already passed legislation. New York tried, but it was overturned. Maryland's got cities where non-citizens can vote. Look, they're paving the way. They're paving their way. It's called getting precedent. Say it with me, precedent. Precedent is the term of the day, precedent. The more cities, the more local municipalities that pass this type of legislation, they are setting precedent for states to follow. They're setting precedent to make it, to normalize this type of foolery, this foolishness. All right. So that's going to be it. Oh, let me see. Let me make sure. I think that's going to be it for today's video. Yep, we've been rocking for a while here. I got to go chill with the family, get some family time in before it's bedtime. So that's going to be it for today's video. Hey, a lot of people were rocking with me tonight. I appreciate y'all's support. Appreciate y'all rocking with me tonight. Shout out to Mitch Sledge. Shout out to Sam Moore. Shout out to Alexa Hawkins. Hey, everyone getting, shout out to Quan Emerson. Shout out to everyone getting active in the comments section. Y'all make the lives more interesting because it gives me I know someone's listening. I know someone's actually there paying attention, and I like to respond to my comments. So I appreciate everyone getting active in the comments section. Let me see, did I miss any comments here? Part of 2020, yeah, it will be on Trump to let it happen. Mitch Sledge says, we need a true independent one who will enter the current political system by term limit. That's a good point. I think Joe Biden is suggesting putting term limits on Supreme Court. I think we also need term limits on Congress members at this point, because when I'm looking at some of these folks like Nancy Pelosi, some of these folks like Mitch McConnell, these people are staying in office for half a century. You know, these folks are staying in office, and there's so much corruption going on. We definitely need some if like, all right. So shout out to Mitch Sledge. He said he would vote for me if I ran for any office. I don't plan on ever running for office. But if I was to run for office, I'll tell you what my agenda would be. My agenda would be getting corruption, getting money out of politics. That would be my number one policy. That would be, if I don't accomplish anything else, if I'm elected, I'm going to be elected with a mandate to get money out of politics. So I would be Citizens United. We would be pushing back against Citizens United. We would be removing, I would be putting term limits on Supreme Court judges as well as Congress members. I would be outlawing, I would be forbidding, I would be banning Congress members from benefiting from stock information, because there's a lot of insider trading that takes place with these politicians. They sell their stocks or buy stocks right before major events like 2020 come into play. Oh, 2020 is going to hit? What companies are going to have the vaccine? Oh yeah, let me buy some Moderna stock. Let me buy some Pfizer stock. And then all of a sudden grant emergency powers to these corporations in order to produce a vaccine, which, if you are vaccine injured, you don't have the right to sue. We're going to indemnify the company so they are free from liability for putting this experimental drug out on the market. Listen, there's a lot of insider trading that goes on with these Congress members. If I was to run for office, my entire platform would be getting corruption out of political discourse. That would be my entire platform. Or I don't want to say entire. That would be a major point of my platform. But again, shout out to everyone getting active in the comments section. Y'all really make the lives a little bit more interesting. So I appreciate y'all. All right. If you've made it this far, be sure to support the channel by hitting the thumbs up button. Supports us in the algorithm and is free. And if it's your first time watching or you haven't already, be sure to smash the subscribe button for content just like this, talking about a wide range of topics from news, politics, current events, hip hop, sports, and a whole lot more with a perspective you probably haven't heard before. I think we had a good live tonight. Can I get a round of applause? All right. I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.